On this edition of Southern Newsweek, Southern leaders rally to hopefully prevent the possible closure of the Tiwai Point smelter, the Dunedin City Council aims to buy an historic site, and there's a happy ending for a tale about a boy whose special bike was stolen. Kia ora and welcome, I'm Daryl Baser. Southland regional leaders are planning a campaign to avoid the closure of the Tiwai Point aluminium smelter. Invercargill Mayor Tim Shadbolt, Deputy Mayor Tony Biddle and Southland Chamber of Commerce President Neil Makara met recently to draw up their action plan.
It's going to be devastating for Southland when we've got 1,000 workers on site and another 1,200 indirect jobs. We're going to see small businesses close as a consequence of this.
Honestly, we're fighting for fairness here. We don't want a payout from the government. We don't want people to think that this isn't something that we deserve. This is our community, which will definitely be affected.
The studies show that it could be between 4,000 and 5,000 people that are affected, and that could be the population loss overnight to Southland as a consequence of the smelter closing.
Others will be affected by this decision too. It's not just about Southland. We have one of the purest aluminium smelters in the world, and that is going to be gone, lost.
From a cynical point of view, that this is just an approach being made by the smelter to up the contract for their electricity. This is far more than that. This is a real threat. There's hundreds of jobs at stake, and we have to fight and resist and explain to the people the situation we're in.
We only want what's fair. It will definitely have an impact and a ripple effect to the rest of our country, and we need to hold on to what is the most significant thing to us in New Zealand, to the world, and that is the Tiwai aluminium smelter.
We should be proud of the New Zealand aluminium smelter, its greenness and cleanness, and being one of the most efficient producers in the world.
The Dunedin City Council has served notice of its intention to buy the Baldwin Street fossil site near Middlemarch, and it may use the Public Works Act to force the deal. The move was confirmed by newly elected Mayor Aaron Hawkins recently. The site of Baldwin Street near Middlemarch could become public land if Dunedin's new mayor gets the proposal to buy it across the line. Dunedin Mayor Aaron Hawkins says the council has served notices of desire on the owner of the site, Ploughman Resources Limited, and moved to register the notices on the property's titles.
What we do now is enter into negotiations with the owner, which is the receivers for Ploughman Resources.
There was huge public opposition to the Australian company's proposal to restart mining at the site, which contains a fossil record dating back more than 20 million years. Many scientists and academics who say the land holds vital information were among those leading the opposition.
This year we've seen a significant campaign from our community to have the fossil record at Baldwin Street preserved and protected, initially from local activists, but then from university professors and science communicators, because this is a globally significant asset, both in terms of the fossil deposit and the climate record that lives there.
The notices of desire can be served on the owner under the Public Works Act, triggering a process by which the two parties have to negotiate a sale. It's the first step down a path which could lead to a compulsory purchase by the council. Kimberly Collins is one of those at the forefront of the Save Baldwin Street campaign and says the mayor's announcement is good news.
You know, it's a 23 million year old fossil record. There's a climate record spanning hundreds of thousands of years that is unique to the Southern Hemisphere. So in the face of climate change and global biodiversity loss, I think it's really critical that Council is looking to protect something that can teach us so much more about how to fix these global and very, very important issues.
Neither Mayor Hawkins nor Kimberly Collins would put a price tag on the land, saying its worth cannot be put into dollars and cents.
I think the land is invaluable personally. I think that the data that it contains and the public interest is, you can't put a price on it.
And that was certainly the message that we got from professors at the university. This is a priceless resource that needs to be preserved and protected.
The Mayor says he's yet to hear from councillors who opposed the proposal to purchase the land. In Dunedin, the South Today. About 20 volunteers traversed around 50 hectares of rugged terrain on the Otago Peninsula recently in another search for 2 missing dogs. The pets have been missing for about a fortnight, prompting their owners to organise the search and put a call out for help on social media.
Volunteers in Sunday's hot weather taking part in the search for the 2 dogs, Dice and Weed, which have been missing for over 2 weeks.
And we're really worried about them, they're part of the family, so we've organised a group through Facebook to search for them in this area behind us that, well, we thought they possibly were. We have previously looked there ourselves, but we just wanted some fresh eyes because we're getting pretty tired. We're looking constantly for them for over 2 weeks.
The dogs went missing after they were let out at the couple's lifestyle farm on Seal Point Road in the middle of last month. Alan Funnell and his partner Louisa Andrew are at a loss as to where their 2 beloved pets could be.
So we're just after any sort of clue, because after 2 weeks we've had no reported sightings at all. So it's quite worrying.
The search saw members of local Harriers clubs taking part. Funnell says the community have been very helpful with assistance and support.
And there's people here we don't know at all either, which has just come, animal lovers. The community has been really great. And we had a food parcel dropped off to the church behind us just to feed people. I mean, it's been heartwarming that people are looking out for us.
And he's still remaining hopeful the dogs will be found, possibly in the care of a well-meaning tourist.
Just keep an eye open for a wee black poodle, which he gets clipped, but he'll be starting to get hairier now, a bit fluffier, and a wee fox terrier, black and white fox terrier.
In Dunedin, the South Today.
The story of a former Syrian refugee boy who had his e-bike stolen has had a happy ending. Dunedin police returned the missing bicycle to a very happy Kazim Cesar recently.
To the $3,500 electric bike given to him by the Halberg Foundation only a few months ago. Kasim Cesar says the expensive bike was taken from the backyard of his family home in Pine Hill on Tuesday.
I just came home from my school and my brother went to my friends and I just got outside to get him and my bike. And I looked around and I didn't find my bike.
Bridget Meyer of the Halberg Foundation says the bike gave Kasim some independence to hang out with his friends.
Kasim had expressed an interest earlier in biking, so it was just a matter of finding a way that we could purchase a bike. And through the Halberg Foundation we have an activity fund that allows families and individuals to apply to for either sports equipment, lessons or school camps. So it fitted really nicely with our funding criteria.
The same attack in Syria 6 years ago that took Kasim's leg also killed his father and 3 of his siblings. Part of the reason Kasim was given the bike was because he was getting exhausted, only having crutches to get around.
I think it allowed Kasim to have some freedom, as a lot of kids in New Zealand have. You know, you often see them biking around the street, so we wanted Kasim to have that experience, to be independent, to get himself to and from school, be able to bike with his mates, play sports, just all the things that bikes allow kids to do.
Police say they found the bike at a nearby property and were able to return it to Kasim undamaged and with the lock still attached. Police say they're speaking to someone in relation to the theft. In Dunedin, the South Today.
Still to come on this edition of Southern Newsweek, the fight for Baldwin Street goes all the way to a reality TV courtroom, and All Creatures Great and Small feature at a pet day in Mahino. See you after the break. No mai anō, welcome back. The battle to restore Baldwin Street to some would say its rightful place as the world's safest street is going global. Dunedin surveyor Toby Stoff has jetted off to the United Kingdom to fight for the landmark North East Valley Street. The signs on Dunedin's Baldwin Street still say world's steepest street, despite the title being taken away by the Welsh earlier this year. But that title is going on the line on English courtroom reality TV show Judge Rinder.
Yeah, it's just me and Sarah Badham from Harlech in there, and I think they're going to have another survey there by their surveyor, and then I think there's going to be someone there from Guinness as well.
Dunedin surveyor Toby Stoff has been at the forefront of the campaign to win the record back, even surveying Baldwin Street with some high-tech equipment in August. He only just heard a Guinness World Records representative is coming to the courtroom party, but he's fairly philosophic about how he'll go at the event.
Yeah, so hopefully we don't just totally munt that up, and hopefully it'll be good.
He says Judge Rinder is similar to the American Judge Judy show, and Stoff believes even though it's a reality TV show, he'll need to behave well.
It's an ITV show, so yeah, it's on in daytime TV here in New Zealand. It's a good laugh actually. No, he's pretty sharp, eh? Yeah, going to have to be on my best behaviour.
Baldwin Street was dethroned in July by Fjord Pen Lek in the Welsh resort of Harlech. Stoff believes the measurements of the Welsh lane weren't taken at the same part of the road as Baldwin Street's were when it was measured and given the title World's Steepest Street. He's hoping the judge and Guinness representative will agree with his case.
Well, justice for Baldwin Street, that would be nice, but I don't know. I'm not really too sure, Just going to have to play it by ear. It would be nice if Guinness or Judge Rinder says, yeah, no, actually, good point, boys. Yeah, no, see what you're banging on about. Here, have your world record back. That would be ideal, but I don't know. We're just going to have to just see what eventuates.
Following the taping of the show, Toby Stoff plans to see a bit of Wales, visit some Roman roads, and have a look at Fjord Pen Lek in the Welsh resort of Harlech. In Dunedin, the South Today. As spring brings warmer weather to the south, swarms of bees are being reported around the region. Southland Bee Society member Jeff Scott says he's been called out several times already to pick up swarms of honeybees and their queens who are searching for a new place to form a colony.
Beekeeper Jeff Scott of the Southland Bee Society is always happy to collect any of the bee swarms brought out by the warm weather. He says it took him very little effort to extract this particular swarm and rehouse it in a hive box.
Sometimes they'll be up a power pole, or they can be inside of the eaves of the building, so this is a really easy one, but they're not always this easy.
Once the bees are safe in their box, the colony is to be kept in a quarantine yard for 1.5 years to check for the highly contagious American foul brood disease and also to see if the hive is actually viable with a fertile impregnated queen.
So sometimes in a hive like this could even be a virgin queen that's come out of a hive that was really strong, and it could be like a secondary swarm as well. So
he says this colony would have been planning to just cluster up on the fence for a few days while looking for a more suitable place to settle down and build the bee cells needed for a hive.
Bees would have gone out looking for, some go out looking for food and bring it back in, but others go out, and I call them real estate bees. They'll go around looking for holes in buildings and trees for the next hive, and then they'll come back and they'll do a little dance on that cluster there and tell the bees, and then I'll have a couple of bees that'll go and have a look, make a decision, and then they'll lead that whole swarm to that thing. And if you ever get a chance to see that, it's really interesting because you'll see how many bees can fit through a tiny hole in minutes is unreal.
He says a bee swarm on the loose is unlikely to become aggressive, and members of the Bee Society are always keen to take them away to a good home.
Leave them alone and let them cluster up where they were there, and then just find someone that can take them away. But they don't want to spray water on them or anything like that, because that does make them angry and it just drives them away. But if you just leave them alone and just call a beekeeper, they'll come and pick them up.
A large swarm can contain around 60,000 bees, but this was a small one of about 20,000. In Invercargill, the South Today.
Dunedin's Home and Living Show provided a wide range of entertainment for the Dunedin public recently. Now in its 4th year, the 2-day show is a collaboration between Allied Press and the operators of Forsyth Bar Stadium.
Last weekend's annual Home and Living Show at Dunedin's Forsyth Bar Stadium saw the public entertained with exhibitions of motoring, boating, home renovations and cooking. A Celebrity Chef Challenge saw 5 of the region's top chefs given 90 minutes to plan, prepare and plate their dish from a mystery box of local produce.
I actually can't believe it. Seriously, I've seen some of the food up, like with Harness and Pablo and Sam and even the wild card today, like I'm blown away. Like I'm seriously blown away.
In addition to the 5 full-time chefs was wildcard winner Rick Moss, who works as a plumber by day and won entry into the competition by recreating a pork belly dish made by chef Greg Piner. One of the challenges was to include the mystery ingredient of the grain product quinoa into their dish.
Yeah, I put it into a rice paper roll with some salmon and coriander and bits and pieces. Just with dipping sauce, so yeah, hopefully it didn't, it worked out not too bad, I don't think.
The event was won by Greg Piner, who said it was good for the region's top chefs to meet up now and again.
I think the most important thing, regardless about winning and stuff, is actually getting the group of chefs together, so like we've got, Harness and Pablo who's come up from, Oamaru and stuff, like just getting together, having a beer, having a laugh, we know what it's like in the industry. It's hard work and it's just good to get together.
While Rick Moss admitted to being nervous leading up to the event, he says the cook-off was all good fun.
The guys were great. They were all brilliant. They didn't sort of ostracise me at all, and they were all there to help. And yeah, just to see how they actually operate is quite good. So their whole mindset's probably a little bit different because they can see things obviously that I can't see. When it comes to the food, and yeah, it was brilliant.
And he's looking forward to the possibility of a new career away from plumbing.
Greg's invited me to come into his kitchen and do a bit of time, well, any of his kitchens, and do a bit of time behind with him and just learn a bit more and sort of, another door, a door opens, so I'll take it and we'll go from there.
Greg Piner says he didn't have long to bask in his success, being set to fly out to China that same evening. In Dunedin, the South Today.
Mahino School held its annual Pet Day recently, featuring the same judge it's had for the last 53 years. 85-year-old Ray Lawrence has judged the event since 1966, but says he still enjoys the occasion.
Mahino School's annual Pet Day sees all manner of country-themed pets on display. Each year for the past 53 years, the pets have been judged by retired Mahino sheepstud breeder Ray Lawrence, and he feels well suited to the role, having judged dog trials at a national level.
What is it about it?
I've been a national dog trial judge, and over my experience there, I've judged 12,043 runs. So, yeah. I'm reasonably qualified.
When he started judging Pet Day in 1966, many of the dogs submitted for judging were just working farm dogs and not children's pets.
Well, I can remember distinctly the first time. There was 45 dogs here, and the children, number-wise, were greater. Okay. But the quality of the dog and the pupil wasn't as good as what it is today. In other words, they were farm dogs. In a lot of cases, they hadn't known the child to any great degree. So that's different now.
The Mahino school pupils write up projects on their pets, which are used in the judging, and Lawrence says he admires the empathy children have for their animals.
So we study their project book or sheet of paper, and virtually they're judged on that as to their association with the pet. And then we look at the pet. Has it been groomed? Who washed it last, and all the rest of it? Who feeds it? That's important. And where does it bed down? It's quite interesting. In a lot of cases, they don't have a kennel. They sleep on my bed.
In Mahino, the South Today.
After the break on Southern Newsweek, a familiar face for Dunedin's musical youth marks time by recording her own songs, and an Ōwaka historian is hoping to share memories of people who've holidays at Jack's Point around half a century ago. See you soon. Thanks for staying with us. Dunedin songwriting teacher Natalie Yeoman has finally recorded some of the many songs she's created during her career. The George Street Normal School teacher realised if she didn't write down and record the songs, they might be lost forever.
Leading a class of George Street Normal School pupils with one of her self-penned songs, Natalie Yeoman started off teaching general classes, but for many years has specialised in teaching Te Reo Māori, plus a huge range of other activities.
I do the school choir, the senior choir, which is about 50 children, and I lead the kapahaka group, which is about 80 children, and I've done that now for about 12 years. And I do music projects, write shows for the school, music assemblies and things like that.
Yeoman estimates she's composed more than 100 songs as teaching tools, of which 17 have recently been published in a music book and recorded onto compact disc.
Some of them I've written especially for the teaching of Te Reo Māori around the school, so that's why some of them are very childlike songs for junior children. Some of them are more complex and more elaborate, so teaching of language, Māori proverbs, whakatauki, and local legends. So different songs for different levels, but having said that, a lot of them have become popular right through the school.
She says the songs are effective for teaching, with the lessons within the songs staying with the pupils for life.
It provides a really fun way of learning, so that children come to Te Reo lessons and have fun, and that's really important because you want everyone to have a positive attitude towards it and become more inquisitive and more interested in what they're doing, and so music's a great way of doing that.
Having had some health issues over the past few years, Yeoman says she'll retire at the end of this year, spending more time with her grandchildren and some more musical projects. In Dunedin, the South Today.
Fergus Gregory of Ōwaka has fond memories of long summers spent at the family crib at Jacks Bay. And he's reaching out to anyone who's holidayed there more than 50 years ago to share their memories with him.
Did you holiday at Jacks Bay in the 1950s or 60s? Fergus Gregory of Ōwaka says he has fond memories of the fun-filled summer days as a child there at his family's crib, and would like to arrange a social gathering to reconnect with old holiday pals from those decades.
It was a great place for kids in those days to have a good time on the beach and in the rocks, fishing. And the 50s are getting on, and some of them are not with us anymore, of course. So if we don't do something soon, that'll be lost and gone forever. So my idea is to get enough people to have a afternoon tea or a lunch at the Ōwaka Hall where we can all meet and have some good time remembering what used to go on at Jacks Bay.
But access to Jacks Bay is not the easy trip it is today.
We'd come over the hill, down through the gate at the bottom, and would have to drive down onto the beach to get to the other end because there was no track along the back of the beach. And if the tide was out, we'd get along, otherwise we'd sit there and wait till the tide went out before we could drive along to the other end. And no power. The only water supply was a spring that Dad had put a piece of galvanised pipe in. You could put the bucket under. That's why he built his crib where it is now, because the spring's just right behind and it's still running. And we used to go down and folk would go away fishing. There would be various sorts of boats that they'd have, and I can remember them talking about going to False Island and out to the Groper Fields and Whitehead. They're all mysterious places to us kids, with these strange names. And they'd catch enough fish to eat for the day and perhaps tomorrow, because there was no power, no refrigerators, no fridges. And people just went there and stayed. They didn't get in the car and pop into a Ōwaka Balclutha or shoot home to Gore. That just didn't happen. I can remember my father taking me inside the blowhole one time in a rowboat. and some of that is still on footage here of Jack's Bay. He'd row all the way around from the bay and row into the blowhole if the weather was right. I can't remember life jackets and those sorts of things, but...
His dad, Alexandra Gregory, was a well-known amateur filmmaker from Gore who recorded the family holidays at Jack's Bay. Fergus says he's now hard at work digitalising the old film stock to show at the reunion. In the Catlins, for the South Today.
A North Otago family has climbed the steep hillside of Puketapu near Palmerston every day of October. Their efforts last month were to raise money for a good cause.
Yesterday saw the Hutchison Family team complete 31 consecutive days of climbing to the summit of Puketapu to raise money and awareness for cystic fibrosis. Hannah Hutchison says the money raised in donations has far exceeded the original goal of $600.
So far we have raised around $8,000 to Breath for CF, which is a fund that gives kids with CF access to fitness equipment and sports fees.
The team included her daughter, 10-year-old Sophie Hutchison, who has cystic fibrosis, and most of the family's climbs over the month were accompanied by other supporters.
The community has been awesome and we've had heaps of people come with us, and today we've got the whole of Waikato School up here.
Hutchison says she got to enjoy the climb over the last month. In Dunedin, the South Today.
That wraps up this edition of Southern Newsweek. For the latest news from the Southern region, head online to odt.co.nz and follow Channel 39 on Facebook and YouTube. Have a great weekend. Ka kite anō.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.